Greetings everyone. Today it is the 10th of April, just the evening of Easter Monday. I hope everyone spent the Easter long weekend beautifully, enjoyed themselves. Now we have to go back to our everyday lives. Well, this is a first episode of a longer series. At the moment I don't know how many episodes I can create, but I decided to provide some political program elements, what I would do in a hypothetical case if I were to run for the prime ministership here in New Zealand. Now, hear me out on this one. I cannot get elected at the moment. I cannot run because I am a resident but not a citizen. So it requires citizenship, of course. The first episode is about the recommendation to implement the weekly minimum wage, but there will be more. So, why I start this series? Well, first of all, I sense a kind of frustration with the current political parties. The recent polls showed that less than 75% of the voters would give their votes to the two main political parties, Labour and National. And when it is less than 75, that shows that in general people are disappointed with the direction public life is heading. That's the first. Now, beside the polls, there are qualitative elements as well that show people might feel frustration, and it is justified. When the Prime Minister is asked what the definition of a woman is, and he can't answer, now that's a start. We also have seen the Greens, how blatant their double standards are. On the one hand, a couple of weeks ago, Marama Davidson was quite racist in her comments, and she is not willing to resign or apologize, at least. But now, because of a communication mishap, a wrong text message to the Green Party group, a crybaby message was sent. Now they are investigating what is happening inside the party. Come on, that's ridiculous. But besides the Prime Minister and the Greens, I would also mention Christopher Luxon, because in his former life, when he was still the CEO of Air New Zealand, it was then when the company made a contract with the Saudi Arabian army to fix some gas turbines. Although allegedly the value of the contract was not high, it is problematic for Luxon. If he knew about it, that's the problem. If he didn't know about it, then that's the problem. So he cannot come out nicely of this problem. But anyway, it seems the public already forgave him, and he is free to run for the prime ministership here. Now, coming to the smaller parties, yeah, ACT looks okay in terms of their own liberal principles. I believe they follow them consistently. However, they should be a bit more sensitive socially. And Te Pāti Maori, I better not say anything about it. New Zealand First, they look like the representative of the past. Winston Peters is 78 this year. They don't look attractive. And there's one more smaller party outside Parliament, the Opportunities Party, TOP. They are attractive to a degree. They have good principles, good social principles. They would also pay attention to the environment, but when it comes to economic policy, especially taxation policy, I don't think they think clearly. They want to implement a land tax, which is practically a wealth tax, and it just doesn't work. It's not a good incentive. Anyway, let's jump into my first proposal if I were to run to be Prime Minister here in New Zealand. Now, as the title already gave it away, it would be the minimum weekly wage. Now, why would that be important at all? I think it is less discussed in the public domain, but New Zealand has a problem which is precarious work, or the precariat. People who don't have secure jobs. Now, how large is this problem? Yeah, this is why I prepared a presentation here. So, first of a series. Yeah. Concerning the labor market, we have a couple of main narratives. One of them was told last week when Adrian Orr announced the increase of the OCR, and he said that employment is beyond its maximum sustainable level. Now, okay, we might think it's accurate when we think that the official statistical figure of unemployment is 3.4%. That looks very low indeed, yes. Another relevant narrative is that underutilization is 9.4%. This means people want to work more. However, we will see that this statistical figure is quite unclear what it means in terms of the numbers. And a third main narrative, that Kiwis work long hours. Some may work even 60, 70 hours a week. But when we check the actual numbers, these just don't add up. And what are these actual numbers? Okay, the total labor force, including those who are already retired, they are over 65, they are also included in the total labor force. Everyone practically who is 16 or older is included here. 4.1 million people. Now the active labor force who seek work is 2,954,000 people, and out of which 2,855,000 are employed. This means 99,000 people are unemployed, and the underutilization is calculated in a way that allegedly among the employed people there are 100,000 who wants to work more. We already know that 99,000 are unemployed, and within the inactive labor force there are 85,000 people who count as the potential labor force. Altogether this adds up to 285,000 people. If we divide this number by the 2,954,000, the active labor force, it is then when we come to this 9.4%. However, the mathematics is a bit weird because on the one hand there are people included in the underutilized labor force. However, they are also regarded as inactive. So I just don't see how this adds up. Now let's see a bit beyond the numbers. As we have seen, the active labor force is 2,954,000 people. However, if we consider what the Statistics New Zealand publish every quarter, how many hours have been worked in a week on average in the referred period, now that's when it becomes very interesting. the last quarter showed that on average every week there were 97,400,000 hours worked. If we divide this number by 40, which is a full week, that means it is only 2,435,000 people who are employed. That means 519,000 could not find employment if the jobs were all full-time employments. This means the potential unemployment is actually 17.6%. Yeah, think it through what it means. 17.6%. What it means actually is there is not enough jobs in New Zealand. Businesses might cry for workers, but when it comes to considering this potential unemployment, 17.6%, that means it's not that labor were in shortage. Probably it is good jobs, which are quite rare. Okay, now the problem is even worse actually. Quarterly enterprise survey shows that enterprises employ roughly 2,100,000 full-time employees. This number also includes the public servants as well, so it's not just corporates. And it means, beside the 99,000 unemployed people, there are 755,000 people who work part-time or in casual engagements. And if we calculate that among those who have full-time jobs, it is roughly 500,000 people who are on fixed-term jobs, not on permanent jobs. So they face risk when their employment term ends. That means roughly 40-45% of all the employees have unsecured jobs. Now this is the precariat. In 2013, the New Zealand Council of Trade Unions already published a report about the precariat in New Zealand, and they estimated similar figures. However, we have to bear in mind that in 2013 the so-called 0 hours contracts were still in place. Now they are banned, so the situation is a bit better, but I wouldn't say it's ideal. Now the real problem, according to the Employment Act, employers can reduce the hours which are worked in a week, and they have to consult with the employees. The potential justification to reduce the working hours is that commercial or economic circumstances might change. Now, in these circumstances, when an employee is faced this question whether they would work less or get unemployed, it's a lose-lose question. Of course they will choose to work some less hours, but it's not a good option. And what it means is it's an unfair situation because the business risks are transferred to the employees. This channel is called Fair Policy Commentary. We are seeking fairness. So in employment relations, this unfair condition is there, and if possible it should be abolished completely. Now we have to bear in mind as well that altogether that 97.4 million weekly hours add up that people can work only 30-33 hours a week, and they have to struggle to secure enough hours for themselves. And this makes working conditions quite stressful. Now this has a long-term consequence. Mental health condition gets worse. It's inevitable. So eventually the hospital costs will rise, and nobody wants it. Now, what I argue, the solution will be the minimum weekly wage, and in this case the business risks would be fully imposed on the entrepreneurs. That's the fair place for them. What I recommend is the minimum wage be 37 times 37.5 times 22.7, which is $851.25 a week before tax. Now, I think if this would appear in a job ad, that would attract more people. 37.5, of course, that's what I would recommend to calculate as full-time job, not 40. With time it can be increased to 40, but not more. And yeah, 22.7 is the actual minimum hourly wage. To be fair, we shouldn't be surprised when the benefit rates are set on a weekly basis and wages are set on hourly rate. The inherent tension is there. Employers would be allowed to have only one part-time or casual worker. Well, if we calculate how many works we have to perform in a corporate, it easily adds up to allowing only one casual workers. It's fair. Actually, employees tend to like various work, not just monotonous and repetitive work, which is boring. Yeah. In this case, they might be involved in more kinds of works. And okay, this solution would put business risks back to employers. They might see that, hey, the economic conditions and the business model is absolutely incoherent with this recommendation. They cannot sort it out. Okay, what I argue is they can find other employers, and when they hire an employment pool, sometimes one of the employers use the workforce, sometimes the other. For example, agriculture and construction workers might be able to shift from one place to another, and in that case their job and their income is secured. They have a foreseeable future. Yeah, their employers should manage the situation, but that's what business is all about. So I don't know why they would be so reluctant to accept this. But this is only one side of the equation, because at the moment, what I believe is employers also face unfair legislative elements. And in the coming episodes, I will discuss those. And here I just mention that 10 days of sick leaves are paid by the employers. That's unfair. There is another unfair situation. Today is a public holiday. If a worker works on public holiday, they get paid time and a half, and they get an extra day as a holiday. Altogether, once a worker works on a public holiday, it means they receive 2.5 times the wage what they would receive otherwise. What I would recommend is modify the whole legislation about sick leave, because at the moment it is oversimplified and just not good. And this is where health and social insurance schemes should come into play. I will compose a video about that, I promise. And the other situation, public holiday. Okay, worker. The question should be imposed. Do you want to work? Okay, you get time and a half, but yeah, you work and no extra holiday. Or you take the holiday. It's that simple. uh, 12 business days can be saved just by this for employers. Yeah, that's how many public holidays New Zealand have at the moment. Okay, I leave it there for now. Of course, there are consequences of this recommendation in terms of taxation, but I am prepared, and I thought through all the business and macroeconomic model for this, and in the coming weeks I'm gonna create videos about fair taxation, how this employment act should be realized in terms of taxation and social security contributions. Yeah, so there are more to come. I leave it for now. Thank you for watching.